Hello everybody. What we're going to be talking about today is a kit to keep in your car, a no thrills, no frills kit, just in case of emergency during the winter months. Stay tuned. Now what we're talking about today is not about bushcraft or starting a fire with a bow drill way in the middle of the mountains somewhere away from everybody, um, splitting wood and building camp, and we're not talking about that. What we're talking about today is a scenario of either you and your family together, talking children, wife, maybe your wife by herself, has been stranded in their car for some reason in the winter months. They're having to spend either a few hours in the cold weather in their car, overnight in their car, some kind of extended period in that car without it running in the cold. Whether that be a mechanical issue, they've slid in the ditch, they're in the middle of nowhere, ain't got no help to get you out. For some reason, you're having to spend that night in the car and you need to stay warm. So some of the first things I like to talk with you about is the things you're actually wearing and the things that are on you. A lot of people take that for granted in the winter months. I know most blue collar men say they was working outside as carpenters, contractors of some sort, working on oil wells, loggers. Most of the time they're dressed appropriately for the outdoors because they work in that kind of environment. They're going to have on coveralls, wool socks, boots, coats, gloves, masks, boggins. They're dressed for that kind of environment. But where you kind of get in trouble at is the type of job where you normally wouldn't be wearing all those clothes for your occupation, and you just hop in the car late one morning trying to get to work on time and just dressed inappropriately. What you need to be wearing at minimal, even in these jobs where you ain't required to wear all that clothing to stay warm for your occupation, is a set of wool socks. They make good merino wool socks these days, aren't terribly itchy. You buy a good set of socks like these. This is a brand called Darn Tough. They're made in Vermont, made in USA, high quality. Keep your feet good and warm. Don't sweat you bad. And the one thing, if you don't remember anything else from this video, is in the winter months, there is nothing worse for you than cotton. Remember this, cotton kills. You need wool. Cotton, when it gets cold, when wet, it makes you cold and wet. Wool, when it's wet, it can still keep you warm. Only thing to wear in the wintertime when in regards to socks, wool socks. So even if you're working in an office space, wear you some wool socks. Most people, anyway, in the wintertime in an office space, sometimes it's drafty. Complain of their feet being cold anyway. Wear you some wool socks. Another thing that I think is essential, especially in these cold weather months, is thermals. They've got real good thermals these days, sort of same scenario as the socks. Used to thermals were itchy, uncomfortable. Get you a good pair of thermals. Talking the old run-of-the-mill Long Johns. The ones these days ain't terribly uncomfortable. They'll keep you warm and they might save your life. In these base thermal layers, they weak moisture away from your body. It's important. It gets cold. I'm talking pants and shirt, thermal upper and lower. Again, you're in a business office scenario, wear it under your clothes. Can't see it no way. Another thing I think is overlooked, especially in these cold months, is I think when you leave the house, you need to take 2 bottles of water with you. You can't leave them in the car. Obviously, they're going to freeze up. And these need to be room temperature water. Keep you a case of water out. Just don't put it in the fridge. Let it just sit at room temperature. Take it with you. It won't freeze as fast. And the important thing, if you do break down, you're going to need water. If you're there for an extended period of time, it don't matter if it's hot or cold outside, there's still a water requirement that you need. Lukewarm water, room temperature water, better than having it cold straight in the vehicle. You don't want to do anything to decrease that core body temperature that you don't have to. So before you leave the house in the morning, grab it in one hand, 2 bottles of water, take them with you. In and out of work, take them back to the car with you, take them back home. If you don't drink them, that's fine. But you'll have 2 bottles of water. This may be the difference in life and death between you and your family. You can live 3 days without water, but after a day without water, you're pretty useless. So bring the water. So now we're getting in. You see this backpack sitting beside me. This ain't nothing special. This is just a plain old backpack. A lot of people's got them laying around, maybe left over from kids that's moved on, got new backpacks for school, maybe got rid of their old ones, saved one of theirs. This is an Oakley backpack, but this was a gift to me at where I work at. We'll start at the top of it, and I'll show you some of the stuff we have in it that I think is essential. First of all, is gloves. You lose a ton of heat out your hands. A good set of good warm gloves. I just got an extra pair of some of my hunting gloves in here. It'd save your life. Keep a pair in there. Next thing. Again, we're back on the socks. A pair of wool socks. Keep you an extra pair. Put them over the pair you got. If you got family with you most of the time, likely everybody in the car is not going to be dressed perfectly appropriate for the weather. Keep your wool socks for them. On your children, especially if you got small children, this will run halfway up their leg. This will essentially be thermals for them. So because of that, I like to keep a couple pairs of wool socks in there extra. Now this ain't counting the wool socks you've already got on you. You've already wearing wool socks. This is extra if you want to put on another pair, or if you want to put a pair on some of your family that ain't got a pair on. Something to cover your head. What I've got in here is one of these First Light coverings. Carhartt boggin. You know, everybody runs around. Most people got a Carhartt boggin or some kind of boggin on. Keep it with you. You lose a lot of heat out the top of your head. This just happens to be a First Light one. I take hunting. It's real warm, so I keep it in here. Especially this is mid-January. Deer season's over in Kentucky. All deer seasons are closed. Unless you're predator hunting or something. Really not much use to keep this in your hunting kit. Just keep it in your backpack now. Really warm. Now, this a good waterproof, water-resistant, wind-resistant, wind-proof coat. Now, you shouldn't be leaving the house without a coat anyway, but these days, most time anybody wears fleece coats, and it's not going to cut it in this type of scenario. Especially, say you're the one that's going to have to get out and try to get the car running while the rest of the family is in the car. You need this windproof protection to keep you warm. Moisture is your enemy. Cold air. Next. And it's amazing what you can fit in one of these backpacks if you're just deliberate about what you put in it. This is a full-sized wool blanket. 90% wool. That's your twin size. You know what I mean, though. It's a large blanket. Not technically a full-size bed, but it's a twin size. But wool blanket. Keep this in there. Same thing as the wool socks. When it's wet, it'll keep you warm. What you can do with this, if you're by yourself, of course, cover yourself and you stay warm. If your family's in the car, your wife and children, they can huddle together, your wife and children. You could drape it over all of them. I've got 2 boys, wife. They all could get together, drape it over all of them collectively, and stay warm. Their own body heat would help keep each other warm. So it's essential. Don't take up much space. You can see it folds up real tight. Keep you a wool blanket. This one happened to come with this cover, and you wouldn't necessarily have to have this, but keep you a wool blanket in your vehicle. Got one last item in the backpack, this little metal tray, and I'll show you where we're going with that just in a second. On the side of my bag, I've got this little, you see it attaches with Molly. You take it off real quick. I actually put it on the bottom strap. You might also put it on the top strap. This backpack, which is another important point, it resides in the passenger seat floorboard when I'm driving by myself. You want this bag, especially in the case of, say you're setting up your vehicle for your wife. You don't necessarily want your wife out on the side of the road trying to diagnose what's wrong with the vehicle. If she's traveling by herself especially, this bag should be within reach so she don't have to get out of the car and sacrifice all that heat from her body, let all that cold air in the car to search out the bag. It should be where she can sit in the driver's seat if she's driving, reach over and grab it. Same for you as the driver. Nobody should have to get out of the car to get this bag, because then you're sacrificing essential heat. And if your car's broke down, whatever heat you had then, you want to keep all that heat. So this is simple run-of-the-mill Amazon. I know a lot of people uses the Maxpedition. I've got a lot of Maxpedition pouches. This happened to be just the extra old Molly pouch I had. You probably get this for $8 on Amazon or something. This one I think was actually set up, it's a medical one, so it folds all the way open. But what this metal tray is for is I got a few little candles in here. Now these ain't the little tea candles, you could use them too, but it's just something to set these in. They start melting, won't make a mess in your car, no kind of setting nothing on fire hazard. But what you can do is set these in this tray like this, light them, and I've got a few lighting options here I'll show you in a second. And these 4 candles sitting in your car will increase the ambient temperature of your car. You wouldn't think they would, but it might increase enough to be the difference between you or your loved ones suffering hypothermia or not. So this is a really easy way to carry this, cheap, that might save your life. Now, I wouldn't necessarily keep this in the car. This is not a bag that you keep in the car year round. This is only in the winter. You keep a wax candles in the car in the summer in your bag, just say you throw it in the back, say, well, I'll get it back out come summer, I'll leave it in the back for the winter. These are going to melt. This is a bag set up just for the winter time. This is a winter specific bag, so keep that in mind. As far as options to light these candles, I'll show you inside the bag here. We've got quite a few items in the bag. One option that we have is your typical Bic lighter. I've got 2 in here. Those are small, why not? I've got a piece of duct tape wrapped around it. Of course, the Vaseline cotton ball. Not that I necessarily think I'll need that in this car scenario, but every Bic lighter I got is set up with the Vaseline cotton ball inside, the duct tape on the outside. Makes a good fire starter for any scenario, but why not? So, got your Bic lighter, again, good and reliable. It's practically fail-proof. Got those in here for one lighting option. I do got a little stick of, this is Vaseline lip balm. All it is pure Vaseline. If for some reason you was having some kind of problem getting them lit, you could rub a little Vaseline on them and it would help in the lighting process. And it serves its purpose as Vaseline anyway, so you can use it for your lips in the cold weather. I do got, the windproof matches, and I do got a little ferro rod in here. Not that I expect to be using it in the car, but if you can't get your candles lit, then you can't use them. Alrighty, one other thing I got in here, and some of this stuff I pulled from my hunting kit. I keep actually this exact bag in my hunting kit, so I take a few things out I don't expect to need, but an emergency blanket is so little that I just keep one shoved in here. Say you got an extra person in the car with you, it gives them a little extra. And maybe they can't fit underneath the wool blanket where everybody else, they've got a little extra. One other thing, cheap, simple, and effective, is I keep a pack of hand warmers. That's a set of 2. A pack of toe warmers. That's a set of 2. And I keep 2 super adhesive body warmers. What you can do with these, stick one to your chest right here, stick one to your back. I like it up here in the high of my back or in the small. It's kind of where you seem to get coldest at. And drop these down in your socks, these on your hands and your gloves. So you've got, I know these say, like one of them says 8 hours, one says 10 hours, one says 12 hours. I've seen them go anywhere from 8 to 14 hours as far as that goes. And I've seen some cheaper ones that last 6 hours, but even if they did just last 6 hours, that's 6 hours of warmth. And that may mean a lot in a life or death situation. One other thing I've not got sitting here, but I do keep in my vehicle, is a good pair of boots. If you're working an office job, which is the type of job I work, reason I'm kind of harping on this so much, most of the time you're not wearing shoes that are appropriate for 0 degrees. Like one morning I went out this week to work, it was 0 degrees when I left. Most of the time you're not wearing shoes appropriate to that weather. The wool socks help, but I keep a pair of boots of my Muck Arctics, my hunting boots, just keep them sitting in the vehicle with me. They're not eating nothing, they're just sitting there. Could be the difference in life and death, especially if you're having to get out and try to diagnose your vehicle and get it going. If you're that one of the group, then it's very important. So I hope that something in this kit has helped you, that you might have took something from this that might could even save a life. I think this is essential for everybody to have in their vehicle. When I'm not at work, my wife works like as needed at the hospital, and we work opposite shifts. So when I'm not at work, I get this bag out of my vehicle, I put it in hers. She understands what's in it, how to use this stuff, and it may be the difference in her surviving. If she's got kids with her out somewhere, difference in them surviving. It's just really important to be prepared. And if you like this video, just give us a like and subscribe. I appreciate everybody watching, and we'll see you next time.